Hey everyone, Ed McCormack here, founder of the crypto education platform, Dchained. And with Memorial Day officially behind us and summer officially kicking off, I'm so excited to see that crypto prices are starting to heat up right in time. So with that cheesy pun behind us, let's talk about 3 things that you should be aware of going into the summer that can make you some big returns. We're going to start off with institutional interest. Now, talking about institutional interest, it's important to just define what institutional investors are and ultimately why that's important. So at its basis, institutional investors are just the banks, big financial institutions. And these are, really important investors because the amount of money that they decide to put into their investments, into the markets, is substantial, much, much bigger than, investors like you and I. And that's important because when they decide to move their money into a certain niche in the market, it moves those prices way up. And if you look at where they're putting their money in the last week, 2/3 of it is now going to Ether, to ETH. And that is extremely exciting when you think about the fact that over last few years, all of their attention has really almost exclusively gone to Bitcoin. Ether was sort of on the back burner. Everyone knew that it was this big market cap. There was a lot of retail investor interest in it, but institutional investors just never added significant levels of exposure to Ether until more recently, back in February, the CME Group, the world's largest derivatives market, decided to actually produce Ether futures, and that really started to kick off institutional interest in putting their money in a pretty sizable way behind the world's second largest cryptocurrency by market cap. And with more of this money now flowing to Ether, it begs the question, could we start to see a paradigm shift now where Ether now is a predicator for where the overall crypto market is going instead of Bitcoin? Could Ether be that lead horse that everyone else now follows, especially with its massive upgrade scheduled for mid to end of July, where it's going to move from proof of work, which is all about mining in order to add transactions to the blockchain, to proof of stake. It'll be much more energy efficient, a lot more transactions, and a hell of a lot cheaper. So keep a very close eye on Ether, and also keep a close eye on the other areas where these institutional investors are putting their money: Cardano, ADA, Ripple, which is XRP, and Polkadot, DOT. 3 great investments to keep a very close eye on going into the last half of 2021. The second thing that we should talk about here is that there's a new energy in the crypto market. And I'm talking more recently about Coinbase's decision to list Doge. Now, put your biases aside on whether you like or dislike Doge. It's hard to argue that Doge produces volume. People get excited about Doge. It makes new investors come into the market, put their hard-earned cash into a cryptocurrency, and ultimately it produces a lot of money for the exchanges. And the timing on this is very interesting by Coinbase. If you recall, Coinbase was officially listed on the NASDAQ back in April. And over the last few months, timing has not been great. We just went through a pretty tough correction, which ultimately led to a lot of people pulling back in their overall crypto investment activity, which in turn you can expect impacted the overall revenue for Coinbase. So with this decision now to list Doge, which interestingly enough could potentially be a replacement for Ripple, which they delisted about 6 months ago, this could be a big win in terms of getting volume up on Coinbase, and also a really smart move to try and draw investors on platforms like Robinhood off those platforms and get them onto Coinbase. And the last thing I want to talk about here is overall perspective by the big financial institutions are looking incredibly bullish on the crypto market in general. Just this last week, you saw the CEO of Morgan Creek Capital putting out a prediction that Bitcoin will eclipse $250,000 in the next 5 years, really pointing to its utility and ultimately drawing a parallel to its physical cousin, gold. So just to put a bow on what we talked about, the crypto market is heating up just in time. We have some massive developments and upgrades coming down the pipe in the next few months. And the fact that we have a whole new energy and excitement hitting the market just ahead of that massive uptick in the curve for all these prices is incredibly exciting. And truthfully, you could not be in the crypto market at a better time. So if you enjoyed this video, come check out our site. It's dchained.com. We host a weekly webinar at earningwithbitcoin.com. If you're new, come check it out. It's free, helps demystify some common myths that exist in the crypto and Bitcoin space, such as you have to be a computer whiz in order to understand or invest in this space. Couldn't be any less true. And of course, come check out our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Dchained, and check us out on social as well. It's Twitter /Dchained Crypto, Facebook.com/Dchained, and we're on Instagram, at the handle Dchained Crypto. All right, well, that's all for this week's recap. Thank you for listening, and I'll speak with you soon.